I'm sorry. That's what Cam Newton is saying after, of course, he's been ripped apart for comments he made when he was speaking to reporters during his appearance before them after the Carolina Panthers game. Here's what he initially said.
Cam, I know you take a lot of pride in seeing your receivers play well. Devin Funchess has seemed to really embrace the physicality of his routes and getting those extra yards. Does that give you a little bit of an enjoyment to see him kind of truck sticking people out there?
It's funny to hear a female talk about routes. Like, it's funny. But
So Cam's joke with the comments made by a question by Jordan Rodriguez of the Charlotte Observer immediately went viral. Folks began to blast Cam Newton as sexist. On Thursday, Dan and the makers of Oikos Yogurt called Newton's comments sexist, blasted him, and dropped him as a endorser. Their statement said it's simply not okay to belittle anyone based on gender. We have shared our concerns with Cam and will no longer work with him. Now, late last night, Newton released an apology on his Twitter account.
After careful thought, I understand that my word choice was extremely degrading and disrespectful to women. And to be honest, that was not my intentions. And if you are a person who took offense to what I said, I sincerely apologize to you. I'm a man who tries to be a positive role model in my community and tries to use my platform to inspire others. And I take ownership to everything that comes with that. And what I did was extremely unacceptable. I'm a father to two beautiful daughters. And at their age, I try to instill in them that they can do and be anything that they want to be. And the fact that during this whole process, I've already lost sponsors and countless fans, I realized that the joke is really on me. And I've learned a valuable lesson from this. And to the young people who see this, I hope that you learn something from this as well. Don't be like me, be better than me. And to the reporters, to the journalists, to the moms, super moms, to the daughters, the sisters, and the women all around the world, I sincerely apologize and hope that you can find the kindness in your heart to forgive me. Thank you.
Well, the same reporter's making some apologies of her own after old tweets came back to haunt her. Black Sports Online dug up some past tweets from Rodriguez. One tweet says, quote, "My dad is being super racist as passed through Navajo land. He's the best. Racist jokes the whole drive home." Another tweet says, "The earth moves at 450 miles per hour. That's 10 times triller than NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt, a B word, N word." Okay. Like clockwork, the reporter issued a statement saying, "I apologize for the offensive tweets from my Twitter account from 4 to 5 years ago. There's no excuse for these tweets and the sentiment behind them. I am deeply sorry and I apologize." Joining us right now is Jason Reed, senior writer for The Undefeated. Jason, Cam Newton makes a joke, 5 or 6 words, leads to this whole brouhaha. He gets criticized, attacked by a number of people. A lot of other female journalists are attacking him. Then all of a sudden, her tweets come out. Then people say, "Oh, stop deflecting to racism from sexism," as if both can't be discussed at the same time. I described it as the unappealing onion. This thing comes out. She goes to Cam demanding an apology. He does not initially apologize. And then all of a sudden, she gets blowback. Well, this is what happens when you unpeel an onion.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. And here's the thing about it. Let me just say off the bat, Cam said something incredibly stupid and sexist, even trying to make a joke. You can't make that type of joke. If that's what's in your thinking, well, then you say that, you got to deal with the consequences. Now, that aside, she twisted the knife when she went to him and said, She wanted the apology. He didn't give it. Then she tweeted about how it was even worse, their private exchange. If you're going to go there, you better not have anything in your past. You better not have anything in your background, because what has happened now is we're saying that sexism is worse than racism, so we can't talk about the fact that she was very comfortable with some extremely racist jokes that her father was telling her, that she was very comfortable tweeting the N-word. And now we're at a point where, okay, Cam has apologized. And people say, well, it was 4 or 5 years ago, she was younger. Well, does 4 or 5 years ago, does that mitigate the racism in the tweets? So I get what Cam did was wrong. Even if he was joking and he didn't intend to make it a situation where people would be offended, people were offended. We just have to accept that it was sexist, it was stupid. But now we're in a situation where we're looking at her racist tweets, and I'm sorry, you can't tell me that sexism is worse than racism. Let's talk about the totality of the situation.
Barbara.
You can't deal with racism if you don't deal with sexism. You can't deal with sexism if you don't deal with racism. I mean, the reality is that these are intertwined, and it is wrong for both of them to have done what they did. And they owe the nation an apology, both do. And I want to be very clear that I found his comments interesting because they were so dismissive. They're like, the silly girl, look at her, she's trying to be a sports person. I mean, that kind of attitude isn't just that day. This is something he probably does routinely. He needs to really check himself.
Yes, him
and she needs to check herself, because I'm tired of white women running around talking about sexism, and they can't see one racial discrimination issue. I am just, this is a dual crisis. It's why those of us who teach and work on intersectionality work on it in that way, because we know that if you don't look at the combined forces and the combined impacts of racism and sexism, we don't get out of the box we're in as a nation on these issues.
Well, and the thing is that is not excusing it, but if anybody thinks Cam is the only male athlete who doesn't want women in locker rooms, they are utterly clueless about what is happening in sports. And not only that, let's also be clear, when you have the number of women who are operating in managerial positions, you only have, what, is it one woman who's an assistant coach in the NFL?
Well, there have been women who have been interns, but in terms of actually being on a staff full time.
So there's not one woman in all of football who can be a coach at any position. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I was going to say again, so I agree with you on the part that his comment was stupid. My question is that, do you think that the reaction of it was kind of fair? Kind of to your point, he's not the only one in the league doing that.
Well,
he can't say it.
Here's the deal.
He makes about $13 million a year in salary, $13 million a year in endorsement.
But here's the deal, though. But it's not a question of salary or endorsement. I don't care if he only had one endorsement. The bottom line is here, you are the quarterback position, Joseph, is the premier position on any NFL team. You are a team captain. You led your team to the Super Bowl. You are a face of the NFL. You're going to get blowback when you make a sexist comment. It's going to happen, period.
No, I think that, again, to your point, there is no half-life on racism, right? And so this notion that somehow, again, even an apology is coupled with this, oh, by the way, it was 4 to 5 years ago.
And that was my thing, was that she said it was almost to mitigate the fact, this was said 4 or 5 years, so it doesn't matter anymore.
So that's the thing. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, what Cam Newton said was incredibly misguided. And I think that he is, on many levels, copped to the fact that it was a misguided statement. And so I think we should start there. We're understanding that in this age right now where individuals have an inability to admit to making mistakes, he has made a strongly worded statement that whether you want to give him a pass or agree with him, sends a message to those individuals who look to him for leadership and saying this was a wrong approach.
And he released a video. He could have easily
made 140
He could have easily released a short statement, or there's a paragraph on a sheet of paper saying, okay, here y'all go. And so, now it's studying the people who now want to dissect the apology. It's like, yo, seriously? I mean, it's like, look, did you screw up? Yes. Did you apologize? Yes. The blowback now is on her as well. Now he has to deal with it. But the other piece is this here. what is she going to have to deal with when in terms of it? Because here's a piece. This is critically important for anybody watching. Jason, you know this. She's an NFL writer. What we have to understand is how we perceive our athletes is framed through the prism of what those write about.
And 77% of the NFL workforce, the on-field workforce, players, African American. Now, she's the lead writer for this paper, and you want to talk about 4 to 5 years ago. The people in that locker room aren't going to care that it was 4 to 5 years ago. I mean, the people in that locker room are going to be looking at her like, okay, you were very comfortable in this space.
Real comfortable.
And real quick, Roland, the other thing, too, is people want to say, well, you know, she issued her apology quicker than Cam did. This happened 4 years ago. She issued the apology because it was found out about it and she deleted the tweets. It is what it is.
And Barbara, the thing, but you make an excellent point about when you talk about where we are in terms of white feminism, and we're going to deal with this later, probably on Monday or so. I'm going to get this real quick because I got to go to a break. It's just no different when you look at what's happening with Harvey Weinstein. One of the most powerful figures in Hollywood, rampant sexual harassment. And I keep saying, I want to know, is Weinstein going to get the Bill Cosby treatment? Or are liberal white women going to say, well, you know, he's been so supportive of us over the years, we're going to be muted?
Listen, a whole lot of white men get away with this. Roman Polanski, just think about all the people who have really been sexist and abusive to women throughout the history. I just think the real thing, Roland, is we all got to just check ourselves, and we got to educate ourselves. We got to know more about ableism, about disability rights. We need to know more about LGBTQ rights. Are we going to keep having and stepping on people's toes?
Just acknowledge who we are, what we think, and what we say.
Let's get better at what we do.
So we'll see what happens next. All right, Jason, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.